Hello, this is a quick video to help you with your analysis of film scenes. So hopefully you get a couple of strategies here using a scene from Rocky 3 as a bit of an example. Something I'd like you to take away from this video is that all aspects of filmmaking are part of a process of decision making, beginning from where to place the camera, the editing choices that are made after all the filming is done. Even the casting, which actors and actresses are chosen to be in a film, and the reasoning for that are important parts of the decision-making process. Sound effects and soundtrack, and the design of sets. Even the script itself is modified during shooting most of the time, and this is part of the complex process of decision-making that's made by a variety of people. You have the director, of course, but you also have a number of other people, even the actors, involved in a lot of this decision making. So perhaps it could be useful to have a bit of a shopping list for approaching a film scene. I've broken this up into 4 areas: cinematography, which is basically all things camera, action and characters, sound and editing. So when we look at the cinematography, we're looking at the angles of the camera: high, low, medium, the distance, is it a long shot, is it a close-up, an extreme close-up, but also how does the camera move? Is it panning, which is where the camera stays still and rotates, or is it tracking, basically moving along a track, following alongside? If you imagine a horse race with a camera following alongside the horse, is it tilting up and down? But also don't forget, a camera that doesn't move at all is also being effectively used. Woody Allen films are amazing for that, where the camera almost never moves, and that's part of the art of Woody Allen. The action and the characters are about what's happening. What's motivating the characters here? Drama students would get this, understanding what the character's motivation is in the scene, in the film, and even what motivates the character in his or her own life. Understanding character motivation can actually be a really interesting part of looking at an individual scene. Then you have the sound effects and soundtrack. So what sounds do we hear? But again, as with the camera, no sound can also be just as effective. Editing happens after the process of filming. It's where everything is stitched together and cut forwards, backwards, and all that sort of stuff. So how are the shots organized? Is there a cutting from one shot to another, particularly if those 2 shots are in different places at the same time? So this kind of list can be really helpful in helping you to come to a strategy for analyzing an individual scene in a really neat kind of way. So let's learn how to focus our attention. Step 1, what's happening in the scene? What's going on? What's the plot of the scene, I guess? Step 2, what's the point of this scene? What purpose does it serve for the story or in the meaning of the film? If you ever get to spend some time or waste some time on YouTube, there's some really interesting stuff to go and look at, the scenes that are cut out of famous films. There's some really good videos for the scenes that were chopped out of Star Wars, for instance, because they don't serve a good purpose to the story. They slow a story down, they break the rhythm of a story. But also, when we look at what is left in, every little scene can serve a purpose. It's either revealing character or it's pushing plot, essentially. Step 3 I've broken into 2 parts. And step 3A, which parts of our shopping list that we just had before seem to help this scene serve its purpose? Don't make notes on every single part or every single element that could possibly be written about. In any given scene, there's usually 1, 2, maybe 3 things going on. It could be use of camera, it could be a use of editing, it could be use of sound. But zone in on the ones that are being used for an effect. And part 3B is make notes on what the filmmakers are doing and make notes on why. In your notes, really think about everything as a decision made by the filmmakers. All right, don't get lost in the characters or even in the plot of it. Everything is a decision, everything's a choice, so make your notes in terms of what choices are being made. So now let's do a case study. In a moment, you're going to be watching a scene from Rocky 3. And in this scene, Rocky is a heavyweight champion and has his first fight with Clubber Lang, who beats him by knockout. It was one of the saddest moments of my childhood because Mr. T was my hero from the A-Team, and seeing him as the bad guy in this was truly tragic for me. But in this scene, Rocky's distracted because his trainer had just had a heart attack in the locker room. So pay attention to the cutting that's going on, the use of the soundtrack, and the use of the camera.
Feature event for the heavyweight championship of the world. And fans, with us tonight, truly one of the fistic greats. He's coming up from ringside, the master of disaster, the king of sting, the one and only Apollo Creed.
And there he is, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. Stu, he looks like $9 million.
Get out my face. Don't need nothing you got no more. Don't need no hair's been messing up my corner. And you better get that bad look off your face before I knock it off. Come on. Wanna jump? Jump. Come on. Come on, Creed. Come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah, just like a chicken, you better run.
Give everybody a present and drop this chump, all right? All right, good luck to you.
All right, fans, here we go. Presenting to you on my left, out of the blue corner, hailing from Chicago, weighing in at an even 235 pounds, the world's #1 challenger, the undefeated Clubber Lang.
I'm the best. I'm the best.
You and Clubber exchanged words up there. Any comment?
I have no comment.
His opponent in the opposite corner, really no introduction of the world over. He weighs in at a trim 201 pounds, the pride of Philadelphia, the Italian stallion, and the reigning heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Balboa.
Listen to this crowd.
Now to give instructions in the middle of the ring, your referee, Marty Dankin.
Clever, Rocky, you know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back out my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Dead meat.
This is not going to be a fight of finesse. These are two guys that really throw punches. This thing could end with one punch.
Scared.
Yeah.
Tear him up, champ. Scared. See, look in his eyes.
I'm no trainer. Just go out and kill a guy. Kill him, Rock.
You scared? I'm a new champion. I'm a new champion today. I'm a new champion today.
Stallion, a rugged champion in the final fight of his colorful career tonight. Jimmy Lemon was correct. He looks like, well, just great. Here we go. Oh, boy, the champion came out swinging.
Balboa's off to an incredible start. He looks determined to destroy the bigger challenger.
Baby, wait.
Cover away, trying to get him going.
Who's back? He's okay. I didn't know. He ain't nothing. I told you he ain't nothing. He ain't nothing. It's too strong.
Don't talk like that, Rocco. Come on.
Tear him. I'm gonna smoke him. I'm gonna smoke him. I'm gonna smoke him. I can't get him off. I can't get him off. He's mad. He's mad. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm losing the party. Who's back?
What do you got there? 200 over 50. All right, let's start CPR.
You can do it.
For the back for round two.
Rocky appears to be staggering.
Coming out of the corner. Here comes Clover. Rocky standing.
Oh, like I showed you. Let's go. Come on.
Clover's looking.
Come on now, boy. Come on. Come on, son. Bring it to me. Come on, see what you can do. Bring it to me. Move on the inside.
Champion is very healthy. What a beating he's taking. They're real.
Don't stand. Turn down with him. Get up! Come on, do what you do. Get up! I'll tell you what to do. Come on, get up! 6! Get up! Get up! Let me see you get up! Give me wait 3 years. 9! 10! You're out!
I did it. Second round. It's unbelievable. Incredible upset. Balboa in the corner, out on his feet, out of the fight.
We have the time. The winner by knockout, new heavyweight champion of the world, Clubber Lang.
Yeah, I told you I knew it! Yeah! I'm the new champion of the world!
So here's a selection of notes that I've made about what you just saw. So we've got the scene opens with an introduction to the fight. Clubber Lang's aggressive. He picks a fight with the guest commentator. The scene cuts between the fight and the trainer in the locker room. And by the way, that guest commentator was Apollo Creed, who was a key character in the previous 2 Rocky films. Rocky comes out hard at the start of the fight, but the commentator's voice are overheard a lot in this scene. The punches sound loud, they're crashing. Lang fights back, his punches sound louder. We get point of view shots of Lang. End of round 1, Rocky scared and exhausted, asking about Mick, who's his trainer, who's just had a heart attack. Lang is pumped. You'll notice here in my notes here, I've used words like pumped because these are notes. I'm not going to use the word pumped in my essay or in my response, but these are notes so I can see what's going on. These are for my benefit. There's a slow motion of Rocky being knocked out. Lang roars. Fast camera shots between Rocky, commentator's crowd, Lang celebrating. These notes are messy. They're a bit ugly. They're meant to be. They're notes. So what's the point of this scene? It sets up the main conflict for the whole film. The rest of the film will be about Rocky getting his redemption against Lang and fighting his own demons, his own self-doubt. The scene sets up Lang as a monster who can't be beaten. And therein lies the conflict. Therein lies the action of the film. That's the journey that Rocky is going to go on. All right, so going back to our shopping list, I've chosen editing, the cuts between the shots and the use of slow motion. The use of camera, being point of view shots, and sound effects. They're the key things for my shopping list I'm going to worry about. So here are some simple notes that I've made. Okay, so editing, scene often cuts between the fight and Mick dying in the change room. My explanation, it shows us how Rocky's distracted. He can't win because his mind is on Mick. Coupled with the force of Clubber Lang, we are afraid for the scene's hero. The scene's about destroying Rocky. It sets up the theme of confronting his demons and redemption. So you can see through my explanation, I've actually written back how that works for that editing technique. And use of slow motion of Lang punching Rocky heightens the drama. And I've made notes to myself in brackets, see notes on sound, because the slow motion is going to work with the sound. And camera use. During the fight, we're given shots from Rocky's point of view as he's being pummeled by Clubber Lang. It's a common technique in boxing films. It places us, the audience, in the position of the character. It provokes feelings of fear in us because, like Rocky, we cannot escape Clubber Lang. And then our sound effects work in this as well. The punches sound like crashes, culminating in the slow motion roar of Clubber Lang's final blow. It's all about heightening the drama. The punches are not realistic and sound more like artillery fire than punches. The slow motion roar makes Lang seem animalistic. And now I'm making a note to myself that I used to love this scene, but now it makes me wonder about the racial representation. I'm not really comfortable with Lang being represented bestially. This is a note to myself where now I can interrogate and subvert the scene and look at the racial implications of what's there. And that's what these notes are about. They're about coming up with that explanation and my own thoughts. This looks like a lot, but if you were to write this on paper, there's not that much here in terms of the note-making work, but the thought processes here are quite detailed. What I'd like to do now is to show you a bit of a model of how those notes could be turned into a paragraph. And so I've color-coded this for the different elements of my paragraph. So here we go. Rocky's first fight with Clubber Lang is pivotal. Distracted by his trainer's heart attack, Rocky is brutally defeated by a hungrier, more aggressive opponent. The use of camera in this scene is important, with the use of point of view shots to place the audience in Rocky's position as he is pummeled by Clubber Lang. This culminates in the slow motion editing and the bestial roar of Lang as his final punch crashes into Rocky with the use of sound effects to make the punch sound like artillery fire or a train wreck. Throughout the scene, the filmmakers have edited the scene to cut to Rocky's locker room where his trainer lay dying. The combination of these techniques make Rocky's fall all the more dramatic, with the audience being brought closer to the hero, Rocky. This is essential so that the film can then explore his redemption as he fights his personal demons of self-doubt as he prepares for his retribution against Lang. The scene is also problematic as it invites us to identify Clubber Lang with animal sound imagery, playing into the age-old racist stereotypes. Now this paragraph here isn't designed to be perfect or brilliant. It's a functional paragraph where I'm demonstrating that with the structure of having a clear topic at the start, an explanation of what I'm on about, and using pieces of evidence from the film, I can then create a response. It's based clearly in the film. None of this is especially complicated. There's not even big terminology in here. And so what I'm trying to model here is how you can come up with a solid paragraph from your notes in response to a film scene. So here's what I hope you've learned from this video. I hope you've gained the knowledge that the key things to consider when looking at a scene are the use of camera, the use of sound, action and character, and the editing. And I hope the skills that you've acquired here are that you need to keep it simple. Only focus on the things that help the scene with its purpose. If it's not helping the scene with its purpose, well, don't even look at it. You've got enough to worry about. In your note making, keep it sharp and concise. Don't be afraid to use clumsy language or even slang language in your own notes if it helps with your thinking. It's in your essay that you need to be careful with language, but in your notes, make it work so it clarifies your thinking. And so I hope that's helped you. Good luck with your own viewing and your own analysis, and good luck with your cinema studies.